There's this useful concept I came up with that I've been meaning to share for the reduction of hoarding and the hoard, or at least avoidance of growing it, which I privately termed hoarding by store. And it works like this. You let the store keep the item. For items that you don't strictly and immediately need, you can just sort of note down its existence, its availability, from which store, where, and leave it at that. Basically, not buy it. Leave it in the store. It's basically a thinking exercise. We consider the store to be a kind of sort of extension of the hoard of our possessions. In effect, we reason that these items are there, available for us to retrieve, to buy on some reasonable notice. And while, for as long as we don't immediately need it, we can let the store keep the item. And we, meanwhile, get to keep the money as well, as a nice side effect. We don't need to allocate space for the item. We get to keep the money, while the store gets to take care of all the costs of space, of heating, electricity, handling, moving, etc. So if you can reason yourself into thinking this way, then you can save both space and money by letting the store keep the item. Another variant of this is if by some chance you happen to have bought an item and you realize that it's not getting much action. It's not actually being used. You thought you would be using it, and in the end, so far, you didn't end up using it. And if the item is still in returnable condition and within the return period, and you have the receipt, then you can just take it to the store, return it, and go back to the hoarding by store scenario. I have actually done myself this same thing in both variants, especially the return it to the store and let the store keep hoarding it. I unloaded quite a number of items this way that weren't getting the action I thought they would. And so far, I haven't yet had any occasion to regret this. So I recommend the same to you. If you can reason yourself into thinking this way, then you can avoid growing the hoard or reduce it if you have returnable items, and you get to keep the money. Very useful. And besides, if you think that way, it's basically the entire store, and all the stores, in fact, are kind of like an extension of your hoard, an extension of your possessions. You have those at your disposal, and you can fetch them reasonably quickly. Now, there could be a few concerns with this scenario. This is not without risks, and depending on your way of thinking, those risks may or may not be acceptable and tolerable. For example, the item may go out of stock, or the price may go up. So those are risks, and I think we would be well advised to consider those risks acceptable, because buying the item and bringing it home and then storing it at home is also not without risks as well as costs. First of all, the cost, you get to pay the money, and there's the effort of earning that money, and if you are not in the positive on your finances, then there's also the cost of borrowing. You may end up paying interest on the borrowing of this money if you buy it on credit and you are not paying off all of that credit promptly. Then it may actually, in addition to the direct cost and the storing and the handling of the item, you may end up paying much heftier price for something that you don't end up using in the form of interest. So there's all kinds of costs. Risks, there are also risks keeping the item at home. It may get damaged from any of the natural disasters, fire, flood, pests, what have you. Maybe if you have a pile of things and it may collapse, it may damage the item. So it may become obsolete. Depending on the item, it may become obsolete. It may become non-functional if it contains some electronics, whether from time or damage of some kind. So keeping it at home is not without risks. Not only risks are no less than those from keeping it in the store, but I would say even more, because when you keep the item in the store, whenever you do decide to go through with purchasing the item on demand, so to speak, the item is reasonably expected to be in good working condition, or else you again exchange it for a working one. So with keeping the item in the store, it's pretty much guaranteed that you're gonna end up with a functional brand new item at the time of usage. So it's pretty much down to the risk of not having that exact item available, not having it in stock, not having it available, it being phased out, replaced with something that is perhaps not as good. But I think on the balance of all things, that is more than acceptable risk compared to those other ones. So I highly recommend adopting and using this technique of letting the items stay in the store and considering them available to you on demand. And I hope this helps some people keep their money and keep items available to them without actually having to store them in your home or storage area. That's it. Bye for now.